Hi, you're watching Video 101, and in this segment we're continuing down our top 10 list of technical characteristics of an effective video editor. I'm John Crossman, and thanks for watching. The next one on our list, number 5, is choosing a software and use it. I get questions every day, virtually. You know, what is the best software for this? What is the best software for that? All involved with editing, you know. What is the best software to edit for YouTube? What is the best software to edit for TikTok? You know, can I do a movie on my iPhone? All this kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, the real concept is to understand that video is video. Whether it ends up on the CBS Evening News, or it ends up in YouTube, or it ends up on Venmo, or Vimeo, or wherever it ends up, it's still just video at the end of the day. Now it can have, you know, different compression, it can have different frame size, it can have different frame rates. There are a lot of variables, but especially any professional system is going to be able to edit the video the way you want to edit it and then output it the way it needs to be outputted. And if you don't have a huge flexibility in how it outputs, so in Adobe Media Encoder, it has YouTube presets, it has Vimeo presets, it's got phone presets, it's got dozens of presets that'll take whatever you've edited and encode it to that thing. So it'll work on a phone, it'll work on Facebook. So it's not the editing software necessarily. I mean, that makes it easier, you know, if you have that than if you don't. But even if you don't, many of these sites will, if you're close, they'll upload your video and they'll change it to what it needs to be to work on their platform. So it shouldn't be something that you freak out too much about. So we're back to choosing a software and learning it. Professional software will cost you a subscription usually. There is some professional or pretty close to professional. Blackmagic Resolve 16 you can purchase as a one-time fee. It doesn't have all of the features that the subscription-based model has, but it probably has more than you'll ever use. So if you want to own something rather than rent something, you know, there are options out there. Blender, Lightworks, you know, Hitmaker I've seen. There's a bunch of them that are free. And if you're just editing family videos or you're editing stuff for Facebook, and it's pretty much just straightforward video editing with, you know, you can dissolve and you can wipe and, you know, do some things, but it's pretty much meat and potatoes, then there's a lot of software out there from inexpensive to free that will do it. Some are limited to Windows, some are limited to Apple. You know, Apple, I mean, a Mac computer comes with iMovie. You know, some people have done some good things with that. And so you need to check out probably the free things if you're starting. If you want to edit series television or movies, you know, you're going to be looking more at an Avid or an Adobe. And if you're just, you know, starting, then, you know, that's an investment in where you want to go to choose that particular software. All of them will claim, and all of them have probably been used in movies. You know, Final Cut was the 800-pound gorilla. Avid was really the first one to, I would say, have a really commercially successful nonlinear editor. Adobe has had Premiere for a long, long time, maybe 25 years, but it probably wasn't until Apple went past Final Cut 7 that Adobe, you know, gained the traction that it has today, because the difference between Final Cut 7 and Final Cut 10 was night and day, and many professionals did not like what Apple did, so that opened the door for Adobe and for Avid as well, but Avid already had a pretty good foothold. I get asked all the time, what is the best? Well, there is no best. They're all very good, and they all will do whatever it is you want them to do. I mean, unless you're really trying to edit with something that, you know, no one has ever heard of before, even the free and the cheap things have a lot of capability in them. They may not be as easy to use. That's kind of, where continuing improvement and R&D that you will get with Apple or Adobe or Blackmagic even, or Avid, they're continually refining their software, where I use a software called Wondershare, which can edit, but I've never used it to edit. I use it to do other things, because the other things it does I need, but I don't need it to edit. I don't know, how their editing system is, but it's a lot cheaper than, their software, but it's a lot cheaper than what I use. But that's not my concern at the moment. My concern is, being able to use software I know and be able to create the content I want to create. So rather than try to dabble, again, coming back to, the same kind of, I know people that are infatuated by, well, I want to learn this or I want to learn that. Well, you can do that if you want to. I certainly wouldn't hold you back. But at the end of the day, you're probably going to work in a shop, or you're going to work with other people, and they have a set of tools that they're used to. And if you're going to work, in television, meaning series television or movies, you're going to find a bias towards Avid. You can learn Adobe Premiere, and it's getting more widely used, but the industry really likes Avid for whatever reasons they are. I'm not an Avid user, so I don't know what those reasons are, but that's a workflow that they're used to. And so if that's what you want to be, then at some point you're going to have to learn that software. If you're doing corporate, if you're doing broadcast, like news or any kind of broadcast, then the Adobe would also be a very strong software package to know. You're going to find a lot of places that use that. Final Cut 10 still has its user base. I would tend to feel that most of them, from what I've read, are independent types. They're not really trying to play with a lot of other people. And so they like it and they use it, and the price point is good for them. And of course, if you're using Apple hardware, it's kind of maximized to work well with what Apple sells. So it has a little bit of a built-in advantage. But at the end of the day, they'll all do it. So pick one and learn it and develop your skills. It's not going to be the software that's going to determine whether you're an effective editor or not. It's going to be all the other things that we're talking about on these lists. But it's important to pick a software and learn it. You're watching Video 101. I'm John Crossman, and thanks for watching. In our next video, we'll continue with our list and get into a series of things, a series on the list about organization. It'll have a big impact on how well you can work. This is John Crossman, and thanks for watching.